Mark meets Tim Ashton, founder and creative director of Antidote. Hello Tim.
Hello Mark.
Can you give us a quick summary of your career to date?
Yes, I came out of school with 3 GCSEs, 2 Cs and 1 A, and that was in art. So I knew before then that's what I wanted to do, something with art and design. And I went to Kingston to do graphic design. And from the back of Kingston, I knew I wanted to get into advertising. And I took my portfolio around many agencies, and I ended up at the only one that would offer me a job, which was D&B. And it was a merger between Macias and Benson and Bowles.
Who was your creative director there at the time?
Jeff Allen was my creative director. And the merger was described as like airlifting the survivors of the Titanic in the Hindenburg. It was an interesting mix of 2 agencies. But they offered me a job, and that was, I just wanted to get on the inside. And I stayed there for about 18 months and did some Vidal Sassoon work. Vidal Sassoon died.
Very topical.
Actually. Yeah, very topical. And it was a kind of side project almost, because they had loads of big pieces of business like those agencies did. And that won a load of awards. And I found myself working briefly with Mark Reddy at an agency called Holmes & Ritchie, which was a design style of advertising agency. They had lots of interesting, I was going to say niche brands, but lots of luxury brands, things like Macallan and Glenmorangie whiskies, and so that was interesting. But really, it was a stepping stone for me to get to the agency I wanted to get to at the time, which was Low Howard Sping, and I got in there and thought that was brilliant. But soon after getting in there, found it slightly frustrating because it was very departmentalised. So the creative department was the absolute god, and they didn't really mix much with the planning department. And then shortly after being there 9 months, I got headhunted to go and join Harold Henry Shot Lurie, which had been going for about 5 months. So I was one of the first in there, and everyone thought I was completely mad because it was a new agency, and to be honest, they hadn't really done. Their work was okay then, but they certainly hadn't started to create the work for which they became well known and famous. And that was a fantastic opportunity, and a fantastic group of people. Steve and X, brilliant. Adam, brilliant. All the partners were amazing, and their recruiting was incredibly thorough and slightly off the wall. They didn't care where you come from or what you were doing before, or it was an interesting mix of people. And I worked on First Direct, which was the first thing to launch First Direct, and worked on Fuji, worked on Maxell tapes, and those 3 accounts alone, I think, won Campaign of the Year and Advertiser of the Year and Cannes Grand Prix. So they were very fortunate. They were high profile, and I stayed there for about 3 years. And then I guess I didn't really cash my chips in so much, but we were working incredibly hard, and it felt like time to go and work at an agency that I'd always really, really admired. It was BBH, and John Haggerty called me up. I went to go and see him, and that was fantastic. And I worked there for nearly 4 years, mainly on Levi's, but across most of their accounts, and still is a fantastic place to work and a fantastic client list. And then I got headhunted from there to go and be executive creative director at what was Dorland's, became Bates Dorland soon after, and then Bates, which was very, very different. At 32, to be in charge of a huge creative department. I think there were 26 teams, and it was about 500 people in the agency. And did that for about 4 years. It seems to be 3-4 year itch here. And then got sort of headhunted, I suppose. I got into talks about starting my own thing, which I did with a guy called Tim Kennedy, who was the CEO of D&AD. And then he had just come out of some time at Lowe's. Previous to that, he was global marketing director for Nike. Dennis Morby, who was marketing director, global marketing director for The Body Shop. And Paul Twyby, who had been the CEO at Bates and had since been working at the BBC. as their first marketing director. And that was called Circus, and that was in 1998, and that was fantastic. And that was that's still going, but after 4 years, 3 of those founding partners, including myself, left. And I went and spent some time in Formula One, and I did some work with James Dyson and some work with David Abraham at Discovery Channel, and then started Antidote, and that was 8 years ago.
And how many people work here then today?
At Antidote we have 15, so we're not the biggest, but we're probably not the smallest either. We've got some great people here.
And how hands-on are you these days as a creative?
Well, I've just hired a very good deputy creative director in Teddy Keane's come in from Albion, prior to that was at St Luke's, and that's working well. But yeah, I still get I'm involved in all the clients, and I still do it. So I can't imagine not doing it. In fact, too many days of being in too many meetings, it's not good for the soul. So I like to, I'm always filling up my notebooks with ideas and stuff.
And how old is Antidote?
7, so we've been going about 7 or 8 years. 8 years, in fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who would you say you are similar to in the industry?
That's a difficult question, Mark. I mean, our approach, we're an antidote to the kind of the traditional model of an agency, which stayed and remained as a very successful model. I suppose Burnback probably set it up. And there are a lot of agencies, new agencies that are different from that, and a lot of the old agencies that are claiming to be different from that, and it's true some of them are, but we are probably closer to agencies like Anomaly, I guess. I certainly thought when they launched, they're very similar to the things they were saying to Antidote. Output, I mean, our output is incredibly diverse, so we've made TV series, and we've made published best-selling books, and we bought a brewery, and we invested in clothes products, and so yeah, our output, we also produce advertising, but if you look at the work that comes out of Antidote, it's very, very different. So
when you were, I guess, climbing the ladder in your career, did you ever want or expect or I guess realise that it was right to run an agency?
That's another good question, because I do think there are people who do it and there are people who don't do it, and I've got an awful lot of respect to people who do it. I'm not necessarily saying I'd recommend it, because there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, and I've certainly experienced that. I'd have to say this is the second company I've started. Would I have done it if I'd known what was in store? Would I have done it? Yeah, I mean, once, if you've got that entrepreneurial zeal, I think what happened, it's kind of a tipping point for me. I don't like politics. I know most people would say they don't like politics, but some people deal with it better than I do. I could be accused of being a control freak, but I do like to get involved with lots of things, and I hold John Hegarty in very, very high esteem. But when I remember very well the moment when I was working on Levi's, and the whole process for making the advertising every year was a long one, and making a TV commercial was a bit of that. I was always really interested. Say it was a launch of a new product, or black jeans or something. I was really interested in as much of that process as possible. And I remember we did a claymation ad called Mr. Bombastic, Levi's ad. And it coincided with a Levi's flagship store opening in Regent Street, and I really wanted there was the opportunity to bring that ad to life in the store, and I really wanted to do that, but that wasn't part of the remit, but I got frustrated by that. So I'd already started to get, I suppose, frustrated that there really wasn't an agency out there for me, so I kind of had to create my own. Plus, I think also being in ECD and getting very involved, very high up in running the business and getting to know the clients really well, I would have missed that. And so, it's sort of, there were two paths. My path I can't imagine not having my own business. And once you've had that, I think you're then unemployable. It's quite difficult to then go back. What's
the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you in your career?
Wow, crikey. Well, I've done lots of those silly things that, you know, go to the client meeting on the wrong day. I've gone to the client meeting in the wrong country, let alone the wrong city. I once presented a storyboard that somebody, it was an old version of the storyboard, and somebody had drawn willies all over, and I didn't realise I was halfway through. This is in the days when everything was presented as kind of storyboards. I guess that was quite a good one. I've made a presentation where I've got the client's name wrong, completely superimposed the wrong client and carried on saying the wrong client's name. I mean, you know, you name it. I've probably done most of them.
And when have you got to the point in your career where you've realised this is it, this is why I got into the industry, this is a highlight?
Well, I'm not sure. What gets me coming to work every day is the fact that, you know, I'm very excited about what's next. So I don't think you sit back. Well, maybe people do, but I don't sit back and go, right, that was it. I mean, Has
there been a surreal moment for you?
Yes, there's definitely. The surreal moment was Hal Henry never entered, or rarely entered awards. And the Maxell Into the Valley and the Israelites commercials were entered into Cannes, and Cannes wasn't held in the esteem it's held in now. D&AD was the one to win, and D&AD still is. But the production company, unbeknownst to us and unbeknownst to the client, had entered, and I got a call on Saturday morning. I had an absolutely crushing hangover. I got a call about 8 o'clock from a French woman that turns out to be one of the main organisers of Cannes, calling from Cannes saying, "You've won a prize, it's a big prize, but we can't tell you what. There's no one here to pick it up, you need to get down to Cannes this afternoon." And what that led to me trying to find a DJ, going to Oxfam and buying I hadn't got a suit, in the black tie, and then racing to Heathrow in a mate's car, not being able to park it, so running in, getting clamped, getting on the plane and arriving, getting a helicopter from Monaco Air into Cannes, and literally going into the Palais de Festival, didn't know anything what was going on through the sort of kitchens. And then there was a crescent of chairs, of 20 chairs, and I'm kidding you not, a throne in the middle. And the throne was empty, and I was asked to sit in the throne on the stage with this vast curtain, and I just hadn't had time to be told anything. The curtain went up, and there was this auditorium of I don't know, 3,000 people. And we were all the gold winners, but I was the Grand Prix winner, sitting in this throne. So that was fairly surreal, to be honest.
Wow.
And yeah, I haven't done that since. But
if you could work for any agency in the world, obviously apart from Antidote, who would it be?
I've got respect for the agencies I mentioned, and I can imagine still working at BBH if they'd have me. But it would probably not be an advertising agency, actually. I'd love to work at Pixar. I really would love to do that. And I would like to work at one or two client companies as well. Google, I think, would be really interesting. I'd really like to. Well, I do work. I'm lucky enough to work with one of our clients, which is Rafa, which is cycle clothing, high-end cycle clothing business, and I have quite a lot of involvement in that business. So
you're a keen cyclist as well.
I've become a keen cyclist. Yeah, I hired somebody at Circus who was became one of the partners, and he left, as it happens, to set up what became Rafa, and he got me into cycling. Yeah.
Who inspires you creatively?
Again, I think I'd probably think outside of advertising, although I think some of the commercial directors I've been lucky enough to work with, and the ones I can think of have all gone on to become famous, and some of them knighted feature film directors. So what I felt then is, I still feel now they were amazing, and they are amazing. Some of the great commercials directors. I've got a lot of admiration for them. I think I really like built space and 3D things. So I think Terence Conrad has really influenced me. I'd put him on the top. I used to get involved quite a lot with architecture and product design. And then a contemporary version, I think, of in a similar vein would be Thomas Heatherwick. I think it's fantastic that you could walk the streets of London and people would never have heard of him. but it's only a matter of time. And I think he's not only is he a genius, but he's being allowed to use that talent. And I suppose the other one would be Jonathan Ive. So the two contemporaries would be Ive and Heatherwick. I think are just they couldn't be lauded enough. In my view.
What CD have you got currently playing in your car?
I don't have a CD playing in my car at all, actually.
Cassette player?
This tragic thing is, you might have heard of it. It's a Dell 21, but it's obviously off an iPod. And that you can probably listen to that a bit too much, but that's the current favourite of my daughter's. So that kind of gets the school run vote.
Fair enough. Let's one more question before we move on to a quick fire round. What's your favourite advertising campaign of all time?
Wowzer, God, that's a hell of a question, isn't it? I tell you what, it's not going to be the answer you want necessarily, but often, sounds quite arrogant, but I think other people might feel the same thing. When you see a really good piece of work, often I kind of think, I could probably have done that. I wish I had. I wish I'd done that, is what people would say. When I see a piece of work, I go, how did they do that? I get quite scared, and I'm in total admiration when I see a piece of work. I just go, I really don't know where that came from. And I think Sadelma's work that he did in the States for Alaska Airlines, a lot of it was to do with the execution. I'm not sure what the scripts were like when they were first written, but they were brilliant. But the work, it was like a movement almost of Sadelma's. I think that was just absolutely brilliant. And it shifted an awful lot probably too.
Okay, let's move on to a quick fire round. Can line or D&AD pencil?
Well, I've told you that I've got a few lines and a Grand Prix letter, but it would have to be a D&AD pencil for me.
Art directors or copywriters?
If this, I know this is not going to be the answer you want. If you can make a hybrid of the two, and I think that there will be more and more of that. So art writers or copy directors.
Okay. Apple or Android?
Definitely Apple. Degree
or no degree?
Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really care. I mean, I don't really follow that question in the sense that if you're talking about recruiting, it doesn't mean anything to me at all. Not one. It doesn't impress me if someone's got a master's in whatever, nuclear physics. If you're talking about myself, I'm really glad I did my degree, graphic design degree.
Retained work or pitch work?
Well, you have to have both. You have to pitch, unfortunately.
Web or mobile?
Well, that depends how long this is ever going to get referred to or seen to, but mobile is definitely the way to go. So we've got to wake up to that, and we've just redone our website, Antidote.co.uk, and that's not meant to be a plug, but the reason I'm saying that is because the smartphone screens and what you can and can't do on those was a very big influence in how we design the web. So I think almost as recently as a year ago that wouldn't have been the case.
Independent agencies or networked agencies?
Well, we're lucky enough to be both, really, I think, because we've got a small minority stake from WPP, so we use the network as and when, but we have the independence and the freedom of an independent agency. Some great agencies that are part of networks, and there's probably some not very good independent agencies. So that's I like to have a bit of both.
Outsourced production or on-site production?
I'd go for outsourced, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think I want the freedom of choosing the best person, and that best person is unlikely to be working in my building and even if my building is vast and full of 10,000 people, but I want that freedom. And I also want the young talent, I want to work with people. I want to give people a break, not just for the sake of it, but you get more interesting, more challenging work from people who are being tested.
Roger Sterling or Don Draper?
Don Draper.
And lastly, twist or stick?
Well, I think twist.
Thank you very much.